How's it going, everyone? So the Packers did pretty much what many of us expected them to do in drafting a tight end. But it wasn't Darnell Washington, which was a little shocking, but it ended up being Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State. And at first I was a little disappointed that it wasn't Darnell Washington, once again kind of going with the hype and the fact of how freakish of an athlete he is. And he's a very good run blocker. But it's kind of obvious what the draft goal was in the second round. So to start off, we got Luke Musgrave, who is a freakish, hyper-athletic tight end. That's the term they use, hyper-athletic tight end. He currently stands at 6'6", 253 pounds, ran a 4.61 40-yard time with a 1.54 10-yard split, which was the fastest out of all tight ends. And, well, we already know Matt LaFleur loves those 10-yard splits along with Goody, and it just fits perfectly in our offense. And at the end of the day, had a 9.78 RAS score, which has ended up being the 25th best RAS score out of 1,105 tight ends to have a RAS score. So he's definitely an elite category in terms of that. Now, for his final year in college, unfortunately, he did only play 2 games for them, but he did have 11 receptions, 189 yards, and a touchdown. And it looked like he was just going to have an insanely monster year, and he probably would have. And he might have been one of the best tight ends. Well, he is one of the best tight ends, but the best tight end in this year's draft if he actually was able to play a full year. He's almost a complete tight end. He's obviously his bread and butter. He's a vertical threat. He has very reliable hands, and he'll be a good security blanket and also being able to go up the seam for Jordan Love in this offense, assuming he's going to most likely be our number 1 tight end. And he's just a player with a ton of potential, and that's where Gutekunst does draft pretty well, and he drafts on potential. And that's where we should be drafting this year. We're not going to make it super far, or there aren't expectations to. Tight ends tend to take a couple of years, even with like Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid. I don't feel like they're going to have the most amazingest first year. Like, tight ends tend to take a couple years. So drafting on potential, especially when we're probably trying to, in a sense, retool for if we want to go or can go on a Super Bowl run in a couple years, this draft is fitting that bill perfectly. Now, Luke Musgrave, he's going to need some development. Like I said, we're drafting him based off his potential and what he kind of showed in college before, unfortunately, went out with a knee injury. It was an MCL injury, and the doctors cleared him actually 2 weeks before the Senior Bowl, even though they kind of didn't want to, but he has a clean medical bill of health. But Musgrave is going to have to work on his run blocking. That's kind of a knock on him. He's an okay run blocker. He's more of just... He's an object in the way. He's not more of a blocker, and he's going to have to develop that. But when getting a tight end, especially since we were looking or hyped up to get Darnell Washington, especially since he was there, I would rather get a person that has reliable hands and pass catching ability over run blocking ability. Mainly because pass catching, you can teach those to an extent. But if you have natural, reliable hands, that goes a long way. Run blocking is usually technique, and you can be taught to run block. Even Mercedes Lewis, who at first was a pass-catching tight end, became a run-blocking tight end, and one of the best. So this route makes a lot of sense. Get a very insanely freakish athletic tight end who's a vertical threat, can stretch the field, and help Jordan Love get him weapons, and teach him run blocking along the way, especially since we're kind of developing this team to what kind of seems like we're retooling for a Super Bowl run, if that's the goal, to try to get back to the Super Bowl in a year or 2. But Gutekunst picking Luke Musgrave, I'm completely on board with this pick. I'm very hyped to see what he does in Matt LaFleur's offense and what he does in the NFL, and I'm just thrilled we now have our tight end number 1 who is going to stretch the field. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack, go.